Monty. In 1941, a new power came onto the scene. Montgomery. He was put in charge of the Southern Command. He removed all the pink, fat-faced, hunting, shooting and fishing and chota-peg-swilling officers who were sitting around waiting to see off the Boche. To date, we'd done very little physical training. We had done a sort of a half-hearted knees-up Mother Brown for 5 minutes in the morning, followed by conducted coughing. But that's all. One morning, a chill of horror ran through the serried ranks. There, in Part 2 orders, were the words, 0600 hours, the battery will assemble for a 5-mile run. Strong gunners fell fainting to the floor. Some lay weeping on their beds. 5 miles! There was no such distance. 5 miles? That wasn't a run. That was deportation. On the fateful dawn, the duty bombardier bade us rise. "Beaky, beaky, hands off cocks, on socks." The defenders of England rose wraith-like from their blankets, all silent, save those great lung-racking coughs that followed early morning cigarettes. The cough would start in silence. First there was the great inhale. The smoke sucked deep down into the lungs and held there while the victim started what was to be an agonized body spasm. The face would turn a sweaty lemon, the shoulders hunched, the back humped like a Brahmin bull. The legs would bend. The hand grabbed the thighs to support the coming convulsion. The cough would start somewhere down in the shins. The eyes would be screwed tight to prevent being jettisoned from the head. The mouth gripped tight to preserve the teeth. Suddenly, from afar came a rumbling like 100 early Victorian water closets. Slowly the body would start to tremble and the bones to rattle. The first things to shake were the ankles. Then up the shins travelled the shakes, and next the knees would revolve and turn jelly-form. From there up the thighs to the stomach it came, now heading for the blackened lungs. This was the stage when a sound like a 3-ton girder being rolled over a corrugated iron roof was heard approaching the heaving chest. Following this up, the convulsed body was colour-patterned, from a delicate green at the ankles to layers of pinks, blue, verrucous purple and sweaty red. As the cough rose up the inflated throat, the whole 6 colours were pushed up into the victim's face. It had now reached the inner mouth, the last line of defence. The cheeks were blown out the size of football bladders. The climax was nigh. The whole body was now a purple, shuddering mess. After several mammoths' attempts to contain the cough, the mouth would finally explode open. Loose teeth would fly out, bits of breakfast, and a terrible rasping noise filled the room, with a terrible followed by a long, silent stream of spume-laden hair. On and on it went until the whole body was drained of oxygen, the eyes popping, and veins like vines standing out of the head, which was now down 'twixt knees. The atrophied pose held for seconds. Finally, with a dying attempt, fresh air was sucked back into the body, just in time to do it all over again. Bear in mind, this was usually performed by some 60 men all at the same time. Whenever I see those bronzed jet-set men whose passport to international smoking is a king-size, I can't help but recall those bronchial dawn-coughing wrecks. PT, physical training. So to the great run. Hundreds, but hundreds of white shivering things were paraded outside Worthingholme. Officers out of uniform seemed stripped of all authority. Lieutenant Walker looked very like a bank clerk who couldn't. Now I, like many others, had no intention of running 5 miles. Oh no, oh no. We would hang back, fade into the background, find a quiet haystack, wait for the return, and rejoin them. Montgomery had thought of that too. We were all put on 3-ton trucks and driven 5 miles into the country and dropped. So it started. Some, already exhausted by having to climb off the lorry, were begging for the coup de grace. Off we went, leather suitcase in front. In 10 seconds dead, he was trailing at the back. "Rest! Rest!" he cried, collapsing in a ditch. We rested 5 minutes, and then he called, "Right! Follow me!" 10 seconds, he collapsed again. We left him expiring by the road. Many tried to husband their energy by running on one leg. It was too cold to walk. We had to keep moving, or hoarfrost got at the appendages. One by one, we arrived back at the billets. Behind was a 5-mile train of broken men. It took 2 hours before the last of the stragglers arrived back. As a military disaster, the run was second only to Islawama. It was the end of the line for leather suitcase. Our new commanding officer was Major Chaterjack, MC DSO. In the months that followed, he ran us across 2/3 of Sussex, the whole of the south coast, over mountains, through haystacks, along railway lines, up trees, down sewers, anywhere. If we ever had to retreat, we were in tip-top condition. In the first week, herds of men reported sick with sore feet. Busty Roberts, the old soldier, told us the cure. "Piss in your boots, lad. Let them stand overnight." My God! It worked. Mind you, there were accidents. Forgetful sleepers got up and plunged their feet into boots full of cold urine. What an army! What a life! I still can't believe it happened. But of course the Russians were advancing on all fronts. The Yanks were coming, and we had our first case of crabs. I had no idea what crabs was, or as Smudger Smith said, the Sandy McNabs. The victim was Sergeant Cusack. He discovered he'd got them on the eve of a week's leave. The MO told him to apply blue unction. Now, blue unction has only one use, to destroy crabs. Knowing this, Sergeant Cusack entered Boots in Piccadilly with the prescription during the rush hour on Friday. It was crowded. He whispered to the assistant, "Can I have some blue unction?" In a voice that could be heard up Regent Street, the assistant said, "Blue unction?" Cusack replied twice as loud, "Yes, I've got bloody crabs, do you hear me? I've got crabs!"